Did you know the White House is haunted? For more than a century, presidents, prime ministers, and even royalty have claimed to see the ghost of Abraham Lincoln wandering its halls. From midnight knocks to face-to-face apparitions, his ghost has terrified and astonished some of the most famous figures in history. Tonight we'll unlock the legend of Lincoln's restless spirit. The White House is more than a seat of power. It's a mansion that has seen war, assassination, grief, and triumph. But one president's presence seems unwilling to fade. Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States, was assassinated in April 1865. Yet countless witnesses, from first ladies to prime ministers, insist he never truly left. His ghostly legend isn't the tale of ordinary folklore. These aren't second-hand campfire stories. They come from people who wrote history themselves. Leaders who guided nations, slept in Lincoln's bedroom, and swore they encountered him after death. To understand why Lincoln's spirit might haunt the White House, we need to revisit his final days. Lincoln carried the weight of a nation torn in two. The Civil War cost more than 600,000 lives, and the president himself was haunted by grief. His beloved son Willie died in the White House at only 11 years old. Mary Todd Lincoln was so devastated that she held seances in the mansion, desperate to speak with him. When John Wilkes Booth's bullet struck Lincoln at Ford's Theater, many believed his work was unfinished, that his spirit might roam until the wounds of the nation healed. And so, the stories began. The first sighting, Grace Coolidge. The earliest famous encounter came from Grace Coolidge, wife of President Calvin Coolidge. She described seeing Lincoln standing at a window in the Yellow Oval Room, staring across the Potomac toward the battlefields he once commanded. Grace Coolidge wasn't a spiritualist, nor was she seeking a ghost. She was a first lady, and her account was published openly, giving credibility to the idea that Lincoln's spirit still lingered. The most famous story comes from Britain's bulldog himself, Winston Churchill. During World War II, Churchill stayed at the White House frequently. One night after a long bath, cigar in mouth, he strode into his bedroom and froze. Leaning against the mantel, watching him calmly, stood Abraham Lincoln. Legend says Churchill, always quick-witted, broke the silence. "Good evening, Mr. President. You seem to have me at a disadvantage." The apparition vanished instantly. Now, historians debate whether Churchill himself told the story or whether it grew in retelling, but the legend has persisted, echoing across decades. Another famous visitor, Queen Wilhelmina of the Netherlands, stayed at the White House in 1942. One night she heard a firm knock at her door. When she opened it, she was shocked to see the tall, spectral figure of Abraham Lincoln in his trademark top hat. The Queen fainted on the spot. When she awoke, she was shaken to her core, convinced she had encountered the ghost of America's greatest president. Eleanor Roosevelt, wife of Franklin D. Roosevelt, never reported seeing Lincoln's ghost directly, but she often felt his presence. Working late at night in the Lincoln bedroom, she said she could sense him watching her. Her secretary, Mary Eben, went further. She claimed to have seen Lincoln, boots on, sitting on the edge of the bed, as if preparing for another long night of battle plans. Even President Harry Truman experienced the haunting. He wrote in a letter to his wife about being awakened by knocking sounds, footsteps, and mysterious voices in the Lincoln bedroom. Imagine being the President of the United States, alone in the dark, convinced that your most legendary predecessor was pacing the halls outside your door. So why Lincoln? Why not Washington, Jefferson, or any of the others? Lincoln's presidency was forged in grief and blood. He lost his son Willie while in office, and Mary Todd Lincoln's seances invited the veil between worlds to thin inside the White House itself. Perhaps Lincoln lingers because the union he fought to preserve still wrestles with the very divisions he died to heal. Perhaps he appears only during times of crisis, when his guidance is most needed. Lincoln's ghost isn't confined to history books. In the 1980s, a White House foreman named Tony Savoy reported seeing Lincoln sitting quietly on an upstairs chair. Others have claimed to hear phantom footsteps pacing the halls or to feel a heavy, watchful presence in the Lincoln bedroom. Even into the modern era, staff and visitors whisper the same thing. Lincoln is still here. Whether you believe these stories as literal hauntings or symbolic manifestations, one thing is undeniable. Lincoln's spirit has never left American consciousness. To some, his ghost is a comforting reminder of leadership in dark times. To others, it's a chilling sign that unfinished business binds him to the house he once occupied. Think of it. The most famous house in the world, a beacon of democracy, is said to be haunted not by villains but by a president who gave his life to save the Union. The next time you see the White House glowing at night, imagine the tall, solemn figure of Abraham Lincoln, not in statues or portraits, but moving silently from window to window, keeping vigil over the land he swore to preserve. This has been another journey into the unseen on Mystic Podcast Cruise. If Lincoln's ghost still walks the halls of power, what other spirits of history linger, waiting to be heard? Like, share, and subscribe. Because next time, we're setting sail into another mystery you won't want to miss here on Mystic Podcast Cruise.